Some argue that Andreas Christensen is in the same class as Thiago Silva. Some argue otherwise. But how good is Andreas Christensen? How good can he become? What are his weaknesses? What does he bring to the table, and how important will he be for the club this season? And this is the profile of Andreas Christensen. And to present Andreas Christensen profile with me is none other but Dennis from Couch Critic YouTube channel. Dennis, welcome to Chelsea Perspective.
Yes, man. It's great to be here, Coachilla. It's been a minute, man. I've been trying to get on here for quite some time. And, you know, life just catches up to you sometimes. But I'm happy to be here now. And let's get right into this Christensen business.
Yes, man, it's always a pleasure to listen to you talk football. I have to be honest with you.
That's just mutual, man. I love hearing you talk football as well. And I just love the Chelsea community. A lot of knowledgeable people there that you can bounce ideas off of. And, you know, it's most of the streams that I like to join are just people that just love the game and aren't looking for too much controversy. They just like to, you know, share ideas. So, you know, more of that, I guess.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother, and welcome again. So let's get into business, Dennis. Can you give us an overview of, or let me say, a brief history of Andreas Christensen?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really. I should have probably did more homework on this, but I know that he was a product of the Brøndby system in Denmark because his father played there, I believe. And his father was a keeper, actually. And he came up through the ranks there. And by all intents and purposes, he probably epitomizes the term wonder kid, because he was at a very young age touted to play some of the biggest clubs in Europe. I believe Bayern were after him, obviously Chelsea, Man City, and when it came down to who he chose Chelsea, and I think we paid them like as a stipend fee of like maybe, I don't know, $1 million or something like that. I don't know if it's been reported, but I do remember hearing that at the time, that we had to basically pay that money and also offer his father a role within the academy as some sort of advisor or something of that sort. So he came aboard in, I think it was 2012, 2013, when we won the Champions League for the first time. And since then, he was in the youth setup and quickly graduated to first team football. I believe by the age of 18, he played his first match for Chelsea. If I'm not mistaken, he played with Rafa Benitez's team in 2013.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he made his senior debut.
Yeah, I think it was with Rafa Benitez as a really, really young player. But after that, he went on a loan to Mönchengladbach, and that basically was the beginning of his actual professional career.
And he did quite well there.
Excellent there. It was really, really played in a back three for the most part, and was able to play in all different types of roles. Played on the right side of the back three, played the right wing back, played the center, which is where he's featuring now for Chelsea. And he just basically was a calming presence on the pitch, even at such a young age.
Yeah, quite a journey. And I've got to say, he's been quite patient. I was fearing that he was going to leave the club 2 years ago because there were times when he didn't get to play that much, and I was concerned. Even his father was making some comments, but what was settling to hear was when his father made the comment that he knows that the club trusts Andreas Christensen, and that was great to hear. And I'm glad he stayed. So Dennis, let's move into his abilities. What defines him as a player? What attributes defines Andreas Christensen?
Well, he's got a lot of things that he does extremely well, but I think that the things that I most notice is his composure, his passing ability, and just a cool head on the pitch. I wouldn't say that he's a dynamo on the ball, but he has been compared to Maldini Many people call him the Danish Maldini. I'm not sure I agree with that because Maldini was something else on the ball.
Exceptional. Yeah.
A dribbler and whatnot. But you watch him on the pitch and he just looks like he has no, like nothing rattles him. He's just so calm, makes the right decisions more often than not. And, like his positioning is usually quite good. But I think that mainly what we get from him is passing ability and composure on the ball.
Yeah, yeah, he's got some great. He's got a great passing range, whether on the carpet or on the air. I think he orchestrates great passes, and that's good to see. And his calmness on the ball is something else that marvels me. Sometimes I'm even scared he was going to lose the ball due to how calm he is on the ball. Yeah, but that's by the way. Dennis, in terms of his playing style, would you say he's the closest thing to Thiago Silva in our squad? Most people argue that. I don't know how truthful that
Um,
is. Do you think is that is the case?
I wouldn't. It's so hard to compare. I mean, Thiago Silva is just so silky on the ball. I would say that Christensen kind of like mirrors him in that respect, but he had so much more to his game. His reading of the game is Thiago Silva. I mean, is unbelievable. But that comes with experience, maybe. But yeah, I wouldn't say that. It's just so hard. I hate making those comparisons because I feel like we're trying to paint somebody with a similar brush, and they have completely different characteristics. He is the heir apparent in that role, but whether or not he could be, the libero that Thiago Silva has been for us in the last little while is another thing. I think that he needs to basically gain more experience, be a little bit more combative when we need him to be in order to fulfill that role completely. But in terms of like just reading the game, I think he's definitely matured under the tutelage of somebody like Thiago Silva, the tutelage excuse me, of Tuchel and whatnot. He's definitely grown in that role. But yeah, I mean, if there were an heir apparent in the squad right now, it would easily be Christensen. But I don't know if his attributes at this time match what we have in Thiago Silva.
Yeah, a great response to that question. And but do you think that with time that I see gains more experience, he'd get to the same level as Thiago Silva?
Yeah, I mean, he's on the great trajectory, that's for sure. He definitely is on the right path towards that. I think that what he needs to do now is just basically just study his game, understand where he needs to position himself to be always in good positions to win the ball, to snuff out attacks and whatnot. But again, some of that stuff is just instinctual, right? A lot of that stuff just comes from Thiago Silva being Thiago Silva. And yeah, if Christensen continues to evolve his game and learns under him, as we've seen so far, I think that he can get to that status. But again, it's a long road. Like I'm not here to say that Christensen is the heir apparent by any means. I'm here to just basically discuss his game, what I like about it, what I dislike, and I'm by no means any sort of like fanboy of any Chelsea player really. I just look at them for their game and evaluate it as such. So with Christensen, I think he has a lot to learn. I know we'll get into that, but I also think that he's on the right path in terms of like his trajectory as a footballer. He's definitely moved beyond just being a wonder kid and is now showing us that he's developing into a relied upon central defender and somebody that we could definitely build a defense around. It just depends on what kind of defense you want.
Yeah, I do agree. He's headed towards the right direction, and long may that continue. And like you mentioned, I think Thiago Silva and also Thomas Tuchel, they both have been instrumental to the improve to what we've seen, the growth, or we say the maturity we're starting to see in Andreas Christensen. So now, Dennis, let's move on now to his weaknesses. No player is perfect. Even that's why we're humans. We all have one weakness or the other, or deficiency, if you like. What would you say are Andreas Christensen's weaknesses?
I mean, it's funny because some of his weaknesses could also be his strengths as well. Like I think sometimes his composure lets him down because he's just so calm on the ball, and when he needs to move it quickly, like he's just so nonchalant of us. Sometimes it lets him down. I would say that his physical stature has grown immensely, but I still think that we need a little bit more aggression out of him. I think that that's what most people will say about his game that needs the most work. But at the same time, his composure kind of like is the antithesis to his aggression, right? Because he lacks aggression is maybe why his composure has taken an ascendancy in his game. So, I do think that we'd love to see a more aggressive center back just because we do play in the Premier League. But again, strengths and weaknesses are basically marked out by the squad that's placed around you as well. So as much as he's not the most physical guy and guy that will be the most combative in the air and whatnot, we do have players in the squad that kind of like make up for his deficiencies there. But yeah, with that said, I think that he needs to have more of an aerial presence. I don't think that we've seen him score from a header, from a set piece, and that
He hasn't.
as a center back, I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing many. I know he scored with his feet. I mean, he scored that belter for Denmark in the Euros just now. But I want to see more of that. I want to see him get in the air, beat somebody in the air, finish with quality, because I think that he has it within him to just his technique and whatnot. I know I didn't touch on that when I spoke on his strength, but I think he has great technique. He strikes the ball really well. And I think that once he gets his head on the ball, it goes where it's supposed to go, which is often not the case. I'd also say that like his timing of his leaps need a lot of work as well. Sometimes just judging the flight of the ball, you see the ball coming in and he's already on his way down when the ball's still coming, and you fail to generate power when you see that. So definitely needs to work on judging the flight of the ball and just like his aerial presence overall. I would say in terms of like his actual application of his game, we do see again, like it's really strange with this guy, because as composed as he's on the pitch, we do notice that once he makes a mistake, a costly mistake, it does really it does hurt his game overall. He hasn't really shown the ability to just like come back from a gaff here and there. So the Liverpool game we seen last year or was it first year under Frank? I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the first year under Frank, where gets sent off for the red card, and then he comes back the next game and he again he's just not at it again. We saw the Barcelona game where he basically gifted it to Messi a couple of years back under Conte, I believe it was.
Under Conte.
Yeah, and those types of errors, you just don't see him bounce back. And I would like to see that. That's just mental toughness, though, too, right? Like,
that's what it is.
Yeah, I just don't know if he possesses the mental toughness to match his composure on the ball. So, like, when I say mental toughness, I think that like when he makes a mistake, he has to be able to just pick himself back up and just go again. That and like I would say, just his overall strength needs a lot of improvement. We saw last year where it looked like he went down quite easily. I can't remember what the game was. I think it was Aston Villa, actually.
It was Aston Villa last season.
Yeah.
Even JT was saying he expected him to stand up and go after the ball, something like that. And he stayed down, and that led to Villa scoring a goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So like things like that, I think that was the equalizer too, right? So like things like that, you just expect him to like, just show a little bit more toughness, because you're not always going to get the calls. Coincidentally, he was obviously a little bit more injured than I thought he was initially, because he did miss a few games after that, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just the toughness overall. Like I don't want to see something like that. I mean, you can't really account for that, I guess. But like if he can just show mental toughness to go alongside some maybe some more of a physical toughness as well.
With you. Yeah,
it would be great. It would be great to see. I mean, I'm kind of like waffling here, because I really think that like a lot of that stuff is just mental. But who knows?
Again, I have to say, I have to applaud you for, man, you did hit the nail right on the head, and great research there. Maybe it's something you already know because it was your choice to discuss its profile on Chelsea Perspective. And
let me just say that
I agree with you.
If you
Yes.
would have hit me up first, he would not have been my first choice. It was just all the good choices were gone, and this one
Yeah.
seemed to be interesting just due to the fact that like he is a controversial figure and a guy
Yes.
that obviously divides opinion. He's obviously coming around. I think that a lot of Chelsea supporters are now starting to see the value that he adds to
Yeah.
their
We'll,
squad.
we'll get to how he's improved. But
Right.
I just want to say you great point on his mental, I say mental toughness or capacity, if you like. Yeah, like you said, he seemed to like succumb to his errors, and then it takes time for him to recover from it, and that rings a bell because under Antonio Conte, it also took him time for him to recover from that error he made during the game against Barcelona, and that's something he needs to work on. And again, you did mention how he's not able to make the most of his, great physique. He's got a great physique. He's tall. He's got a good build. He should be good aerially, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And yeah, I think it's something that he needs to work on to be a complete player. Or if I'm allowed to put it that way. Yeah, but that's by the way. Now, Dennis, let's talk about his form since the arrival of Thomas Tuchel, or you could say his recent form, however way you want to put it. How good has it been of recent?
Well, I think that again, what I think is the genius of Thomas Tuchel is he's found a shape that works for multiple individuals on the squad, and it kind of takes their strengths and ascends them into it takes their strengths and puts them in exalts them, and then he kind of has a system in place that kind of like masks their weaknesses as well. So, I mean, hats off to him. The fact that he was able to assess that so early and so quickly, and put these guys in positions to succeed so quickly. But I think that under Thomas Tuchel, the thing that we're seeing under Christensen is the same things that we saw before. He's still very nice on the ball. He's still very composed. What we're not seeing is the mistakes. And the reason why we're not seeing as much is because the system that he has built around him right now is just airtight. It's airtight. We have a system that protects his weaknesses because we have him flanked by Aspilicueta, who likes to get tight to men, doesn't let a lot of guys get behind him or dribble past him, leave him in 1v1 situations. And then we have Rudiger on the other side, who's obviously very aggressive and physical in the air. And then what Christensen now has to do, he has two roles, really. He deputizes for Thiago Silva, so that's an important role because you have to be ready when Thiago Silva misses the game or something like that, just due to age or fatigue. He has to be match fit and ready and to come in, sit into that center of the defense and dictate, just marshal that back line. That's the important role. He's improved on that immensely. But at the same time, he's also benefiting from the fact that we don't really commit a whole lot of like high danger situations. So when you look at Tuchel, you're seeing now that like Chelsea limit the amount of opportunities that teams get right into high danger areas. And in those situations where the mental toughness is being tested, consistently in those areas, we're not seeing Christensen falter anymore because we're not being put into those situations enough. So not only is he limiting those opportunities, but he also gaining so much confidence in his ability now. We're seeing more of his strengths come to the forefront because he's not having to rely on his weaknesses to get us through games. So I think mainly what we're seeing right now is a more mature version of what we want to see from Christensen. He obviously functions a lot better in a back three than he does a back two, back four, however you want to call the center back position. But I would more say a two rather than a three because four, our wing, our fullbacks usually fly up the pitch anyway. So it's more of a back two when we play that system. And he's just benefiting from being in a comfortable role. He's definitely shown that he can read the game now. He's getting more time on the ball to read the game because he's flanked by two incredible center backs. And I think hats off to him, hats off to Tuchel for recognizing where his strengths lie.
Yeah, he's been great. Even in the Euros, he did very well for his country, and for Chelsea, he's been great. Whether you play even when he plays on the right hand side of the back three,
Good
and
point.
he's done great in the middle. He's done great, and I think he's been in great form in recent months or days. If you like, under Thomas Tuchel overall. Yeah, but you could argue that once the form of a player defines their improvement or defines how they've improved. But being specific, if you think he's improved, Dennis, how would you say he's improved?
I just think he's gotten better at reading the game, and maybe that might be down to system because it gives him, he's seeing more of the pitch for being in the center of three, and he's not taking any rash challenges like when we saw under Frank being in a two. There's no support for him, right? Where if he makes a mistake, it usually leads to a goal. Whereas in this system now, he's kind of like the game's a little bit more slow for him. He's adapted well to being in a three. I think it's his most well-suited role, and his composure has gone up to another level as well. His ball playing ability has gone up to another level. His confidence has gone up to another level. His reading of the game, like I said, just due to the fact that he's seeing how somebody like Thiago Silva is reading the game has kind of accentuated how he sees the game as well. So, in the last 6 months or so, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, however long it's been since Tuchel's been in charge, we've seen just somebody that's fallen into their natural role in the back three, and as a result, it's playing more to his strengths.
Yeah, great point right there. And to add to that, I think he's improved in terms of, usually when he's on the pitch, you'll be fearing that he'd make one mistake or the other due to lapses in concentration. I think that hasn't happened for a while right now, and that's a good sign. And now under Thomas Tuchel, also something you did say about how I don't know how airtight the formation is. Tuchel seemed to have found a ways to structure with the way we play that it masks the deficiencies of our players. Somebody like Andreas Christensen being one of them. Marcos Alonso is always on the pitch, and you wouldn't even notice that he's not quick. So yeah, he's found a way to mask the deficiencies of our players, and that's great. And Andreas Christensen has benefited from that also. So now,
I don't want to go off
Dennis,
topic here,
yes,
but you did touch on a good point. I don't want to go too much off topic.
yeah,
But
go ahead.
we're talking about Rudiger now, looking for a new contract, and how he's, lots of people are saying that he's one of the best center backs in the world right now, and I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the same things we're talking about here, just the system being so well suited for him, us not really being put in positions where we create high danger opportunities. And him basically just being there to mop it up, like in the midfield and whatnot. I don't know. Having said that, I don't think that we have any center back right now at the club that would function well in a two. I don't think that we have anyone that is a real boss
That is a great point, and I think Tuchel himself knows that, and we seem to struggle whenever we have two centre backs playing that we play four at the back. So yeah, I think that's a great point you made right there, and yeah. So yeah, moving on now, Dennis. There's always the argument that you'd have to play certain formation to get the best out of certain players. Some instances being the argument that we need to switch to 4-3-3 to see the best of Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, and all the players in the team. But when it comes to Andreas Christensen, do you think that's the case, or do you think he's suited for whatever formation we'll play?
I think if you played Christensen in the two, I think you need to have somebody back there that is a real beast, like somebody that is a real boss. Like he would look fantastic next to somebody like Van Dijk. Let's just be honest, like that's sort of like center back. Somebody I would like to see, maybe even somebody like, you wouldn't really fancy him right now, but De Ligt at Juventus. You put him next to Christensen, I think that's a pretty decent center back pairing. But yeah, I just don't think that he's the boss. As much as he's the most composed on the pitch, he's the guy that you want having ball to feet. You want him in that position. I don't know if he'll function well in a two, just because it requires so much more of a complete center back in that respect. Whereas I don't think that he's shown me that he can be a complete center back, one that can like read the game, be physical, man up on somebody, be an aerial presence, be gifted on the ball. Like he's already has some of these attributes, but like some of them he doesn't. And like I think that you need to be a complete center back, or at least have somebody next to you that is very complete in order to function in a two. In a three, I just think it's just perfect for him because, as I said, it exalts his strengths and kind of minimizes his weaknesses, allows him to get forward when he wants to, which is something that he often likes to do. Just use the ball a bit more. He's not much of a dribbler, but at the same time, I still think that him advancing the ball when the teams, and we saw it again even under Frank, when teams tried to like mark out Jorginho, take him out of the game, the next person in charge to build our attacks from the back is usually Christensen, in that when he's on the pitch at least. So he loves being in control of the ball. He loves being the guy that kind of like dictates what the moves are, but I don't know if he's as effective in that role in a back two as he is in a back three. So I do think he is a system player at this point in time.
That makes perfect sense, and I'd have to agree with you because it looks like you see the best of Andreas Christensen whenever he leads the back line or whenever he's in a position where he gets to. That is, he participate in the play more often than just sit back and wait to defend. Yeah, great point, and thank you very much for taking some time to answer that. So now, Dennis, bringing everything together, what does Andreas Christensen bring to the table that complements every other players in the team, every other player and their attributes? That is, what does he overall? Let me just put it this way: overall, what does Andreas Christensen bring to the table that helps the team, that makes Chelsea Football Club that makes the team a better team?
Well, I mean, Chelsea under Tuchel, even under Frank for that matter, are a possession-based team. We want the ball. And in order to be a possession-based team, you need to have guys that are comfortable on the ball first and foremost. You need to have guys that can like pass it accurately. You need to have guys that can like advance the ball, like use their feet, get the ball forward, play it on the carpet. And he's all of that. He is all of that and then some. Like some of the weaknesses that he possesses don't necessarily come to the fore because we are a possession-based team as well. The fact that we want the ball all the time and we work hard to recover it, with the Contes, with the Jorginhos, Rudigers and whatnot. So I think what he brings to the game is a calming presence on the pitch first and foremost. He's a guy that is elegant on the ball. When you see him pass the ball, you love to see him pass the ball because it's just so elegant, and he's been doing this for years. It's not just recently that we've been noticing this. This guy has a beauty in his game that just comes to the forefront when he's on the ball. And those are the things that I like. I think that under Tuchel, we're starting to see that he's reading the game a lot better, and he's definitely helping out his center back pairings as well. Just because now that he's able to read the game, it allows Rudiger to be a little bit more aggressive in his challenges and whatnot, knowing that Christensen can read what he's doing and compensate. It allows for Azpilicueta to push further up the pitch. You've seen him go up the pitch on the right side to overload a lot when he plays as the right sided central defender. And all of that is basically culminated on the fact that Christensen's gotten better at reading what situations we're putting ourselves into and what position he needs to be in to snuff it out. And basically, all of that just comes down from like just maturity and understanding your role in the squad, making up for other people's deficiencies, and also exalting your strengths. And again, as much as this is about Christensen and his ascendancy in the last 8-9 months, a lot of this comes down to, for me, Thomas Tuchel, his ability to understand people's strengths and putting them in positions to succeed.
Yeah, great answer to that question. I think he's got great attributes that are essential to the way we play. His ability on the ball, his calmness on the ball, his ability to progress the ball from the back whenever he finds spaces. Because I've noticed on occasions if he sees spaces, he just moves into it, eat up the space, and then progress the ball for the team. And that's great to see. That's critical to the way we play. And okay, overall now this is a bit similar to the previous question, but it's a slight difference because his attributes doesn't guarantee doesn't define his importance to the team. Somewhat it does, but to an extent, his importance to the team might be reduced if it doesn't play that often. So the question is, how important do you think Andreas Christensen will be for the team going into the season?
Ooh, he's vital as far as I'm concerned. As much as Thiago Silva is probably just edging him out in terms of who you'd want to see on the pitch, like I think that his inclusion in the squad is vital only because, like I said, Thiago Silva is not getting any younger. We definitely need to be rotating the squad quite a bit with the amount of matches we have, and we don't have a lot of center backs that play the game the way Thomas Tuchel wants to play it. And what I mean by that is we need somebody that is in the back line that can pass the ball beautifully, use his ability to come out from the back and initiate attacking moves. We need somebody that can do that. And of the what 5-6 center backs that we have, maybe Chaloba I'd like to see more, but sometimes he's a little bit indecisive, and sometimes his decision making is not quite right yet when he's dribbling, when he should be passing and whatnot. But I digress. The two guys that I think that we have in our squad in that back three system that are the calming presence, the elegant passers, are Thiago Silva and Christensen. And right now, I would assume that for the big matches we're going to see more of Thiago Silva, but that does not mean in any stretch or form that Christensen won't be getting a lot of matches, a lot of important matches at that. We've already seen him already in some big games, and he's been exceptional, right? So I think he was the center back in the Liverpool game where we went down to 10 men, and he showed his work there. I believe he was the man of the match in that as well. So we're seeing him. We're seeing his importance just right off the beginning of the season right now, being such an important player. When Thiago Silva is not healthy or not chosen as first choice, we're seeing that Christensen can step in, and we're not seeing any drop off. So I think going forward, he has to find, probably to make himself even more important. He has to find a way of being able to spell even like Rudiger at that left-sided center back position. If he can do that and do that effectively, then he's indispensable on the side for me, because we've already seen him play at the right side, and he's been effective there as well, just getting forward, dribbling, advancing the ball, passing into the box and whatnot. He's already proven that he can do that. If he can do that on the left side now, he becomes indispensable on the side as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, very well put right there. I mean, if you look at his similarities to with Thiago Silva, his importance is there for you to see, because when Thiago Silva isn't playing, he's the next guy in line to be able to execute that role very, very well. And he's proven, even in the Champions League final, he was brilliant when Thiago Silva went off with an injury. And surprisingly, that seemed to me, if you ask me, I'd say that was actually a blessing in disguise, because he's got more energy, he's quicker. So, and he made some blocks that, you could argue that Thiago Silva's injury in the Champions League final was a blessing in disguise. But that's by the way. But before we talk about his future, Dennis, I'd like you to please take some time, talk about your channel, tell people about Couch Critic.
Okay, but before I get into that, I wanted to also mention that, like, the comparison between Thiago and Christensen. I think what we're also seeing is that when he comes in for Thiago, we're not seeing a lot of drop off. Obviously the experience and the know-how of Thiago Silva it's there to behold. We know what we're getting from him that way. But Christensen is coming, even like as you mentioned, in the Champions League final, and as much as people would have said, wow, that would have been a real loss for Chelsea, we didn't really experience that. We didn't feel that as well. So I think him coming in for Thiago Silva and not seeing any much drop off there is very valuable. And with regards to my channel, Couch Critic, it's basically a channel for guys like me and yourself. We basically who like talking football, but from a limited perspective to somewhere, we're not on the sidelines, we're not in the dressing room. We just basically comment on what we see. And, so it's appropriately titled Couch Critic because it's not necessarily, from somebody that is completely knowledgeable of what's happening on the pitch. I just speak from what I know, essentially. And I kind of took a break from it last year just based on the fact that, we were going through this pandemic. And I really wanted to use this opportunity to observe it and, not create content. Just was my protest, I guess, would be the easiest way of saying it. I was just protesting, content and, trying to be respectful of what we're going through. But we're back now. Everyone's back in the terraces, back in the stands, and it feels like football is back. So started making videos again. I try to do them once a week, where I focus on the match reviews. Generally, what I try to do is take three components from the game to discuss and break down. For instance, the Aston Villa game just passed. I decided to focus on the right side of the pitch for Chelsea and how their dysfunction kind of led to a lot of problems in the first half in particular. I went into Lukaku and his brace and why his addition to the squad and his clinical finishing has become like a really important addition to the squad. And then, of course, I touched on Saul Niguez. I tried to keep it minimal there just because I feel like everyone was just tearing that guy apart, in his first match. You even commented on it yourself, Coachella, and made perfect mention of the fact that, like, he just needs time. We can't really expect much from him in his first game at the Prem. So I kind of just left it at that. But, yeah, in general, I try to have guests on that also share their opinions on how they see the game tactically and what they think Chelsea need to do to improve. And, hopefully I can continue to do that for the foreseeable future.
Yes, people, you've heard the man. I'll leave his complete information in the comment in the description section when I upload the video. So now, Dennis, let's move on to his future. There's been, like I told you before, at the time I feared he was going to leave the club, but he's still there and he's been very patient. And I also did talk about his father's comment, stressing that he knows that the club loves him. They believe in his ability and he doesn't think they will let him go and they will make sure his development continues. And that's happening right now. What do you think? Do you think he has a future at the club?
Oh, man. I mean, Christensen is not going anywhere. Like, from what I understand, the club, the hierarchy, the owners, the staff, they all love him. Like, and this is not a new revelation. This is for years now. Chelsea Football Club loved Andreas Christensen and want him to flourish in their side. I think that they found a way to make it so now with this back three system and with Thomas Tuchel. I know that they're in discussions for a new contract, and all intents and purposes, it sounds like it's done. I can see him basically being our center back, our middle center back, line marshal for years to come. Long after Thiago Silva's gone, Christensen will be there, marshaling our defense and like organizing our back three. So yeah, no, I do think that he has a future with the squad. I just think that now what we need to see from him in order for him to really take it by the reins and like really own that position is just gain experience, like understand where to be on the pitch at all times, learn from Thiago Silva, learn from Thomas Tuchel, really understand the strengths and weaknesses of your teammates in and around you. And that goes not just for the center backs around you, it also goes for the wing backs. and our double sixes, understand where their strengths and weaknesses lie. Because if you're at the center of that defense, you kind of have to fill holes where they fill it, where they come in, right? So he's got to be the guy that is reading the game better than anybody out there, not named Jorginho, of course. So that's where I think his ascension will come from, and I think that if he can do those things, we got a hell of a center back on us. You know, we can always say that like he
I
can be a
think
little bit more aggressive, physical, aerial presence, the things that we've mentioned already in this video. But as far as his elegance on the ball and his intelligence on the ball and his ability to use the ball, all these things that modern football pretty much demand from center back positions right now, he has it. So it's just time, and hopefully within the next couple months, just understudying with Thiago Silva, and then deputizing for him every now and then, we'll see the best of Christensen emerge.
Yeah, hopefully the rumor that he's in talks with the club for a contract extension is true. I'd like him to stay at least for consistency. He knows the club very well. He's Chelsea through and through, and with lots of the players in the team right now have played with him for a long time, and that's great for team chemistry and team bond. And I hope again, I'm hopeful that he signs a new contract and stays on at Chelsea. Yeah, and that is the player profile of Andreas Christensen. So get in the comment section and let us know if we missed anything. And also, more importantly, don't forget to go check out Couch Critic YouTube channel. The guy is a football tactical genius. If you've seen him talk football before, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I urge you to go check out his content. And believe me, you will thank me later. And again, please don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and more importantly, click on the bell notification button so you don't miss anything. Again, it is me, Coachila, and my brother, Dennis. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again in the next video. Cheers.
Take care.